So you have a concrete pool and you want to know if you can paint it. That kind of depends on a number of different factors, and let's start with what's currently in the pool now. If this is a new swimming pool construction and you're wondering, could I choose to have a painted pool instead of, let's say, a plaster pool or a tile pool, something like that? Yeah, you absolutely could do that. That's up to you. It's a budget consideration. Are you worried about having a premium interior finish versus an entry-level interior finish? Are you worried about maintenance costs long term? There's a lot of questions to be answered, but ultimately it's up to you if you want to go with paint. I consider paint to be a very entry-level interior finish for a concrete pool. Concrete pool is kind of like the Cadillac of swimming pools, and so it seems to be more suitable to me to go with a plaster interior surface or tile or something more premium than paint. That being said, the majority of people asking this question about can I paint my pool, you probably have an existing or an older concrete swimming pool where the existing interior surface is failing. Maybe you got a quote or two to replace that, and you've realized how devastatingly expensive these can be sometimes, depending on what's wrong with your pool and where geographically you're located, leading you ultimately to ask the question, can I paint my pool? Maybe you can paint your pool. First of all, the question is painting your pool actually cheaper than plastering your pool? And what a lot of pool owners fail to factor in is the long-term cost over maybe like a 10 or 20 year service life for the amount of times that you're going to need to drain the pool and paint it, and the cost of that, because epoxy paints and other types of pool paints are not inexpensive in and of themselves. Are you really saving anything versus if you pay more now for a more premium interior finish that maybe doesn't require as much maintenance or upkeep in the long term? So that's a question in and of itself, and my opinion is that maybe pool painting isn't necessarily worth it financially. I think maybe you do save a little bit of money long term, but at the same time, if you spend just a small amount more, you could, in my opinion, have a more premium finish. Something like a swimming pool plaster, I think would be a better option long term. Ultimately, if you're wondering if you can paint your own pool, the interior surface that you have now dictates whether this is possible or not. If the interior surface that you have is falling off and crumbling to pieces and you're finding big chunks in the bottom of the pool and you're wondering, hey, can I paint this pool? Probably not. It'd be like painting over broken walls. If you've got crumbling drywall in your house, can you just paint over it? Well, not really. It's going to look terrible. It's not going to hide anything, and it's not going to fix any of the problems that you have. So if you have an interior surface that's currently failing and crumbling and breaking away and chunks are falling off and you can hear it, it's loose when you tap on it, all of that needs to be fixed before you can consider painting your pool. The other thing that you would need to consider, let's say that, no, there's no problems, it's not falling apart, but it's already been painted. If it's already been painted once before, then you have to determine what kind of paint was used on it, because you really should only ever paint a pool with what it was painted with previously. If the pool has never been painted before, then I suppose you would have the option of which direction to move in, epoxy paint, chlorinated rubber, or acrylic paint. But if it's been painted before, you'll have to break some little pieces of the paint off and send it to the paint manufacturer that you're considering using and have them test it for you to determine what type of paint was originally used, and that type of paint is the only paint type that you can use over top of that. There is a sole exception to that situation where you can sometimes get away with using an acrylic paint, a water-based paint, and especially over very old previously painted finishes, it can sometimes do a decent job of adhering for a few years at a time. But other than that, the general rule of thumb is you can only paint a concrete pool with the exact same paint it was painted with previously, or you need to strip off everything that's there down to the base substrate concrete and rebuild either a plaster or painted interior finish from there. If you found this information helpful, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can check out my website, swimmingpoolsteve.com.